Soma Talks podcast is sponsored by Davis Advocacy and Consulting, also known as DAC, your trusted partner in legal solutions. From business law to civil rights, DAC is here to tackle all your legal needs. With specialized services in employment law, trust and estates, education, medical malpractice, and civil rights, DAC is here to be your trusted advisor. Let DAC guide you through the complexities of the legal system and secure the outcomes you deserve. Contact Davis Advocacy and Consulting today for reliable and tailored legal support. The website is calldac.com. Again, that's calldac.com. Davis Advocacy and Consulting, turning advocacy into empowerment. And welcome to the Ileana Castillo Show, starring Ileana Castillo with Lena Evelyn. The Ileana Castillo Show, sometimes also referred to as the Soma Talks podcast, is sponsored by Coda Kitchen, Davis Advocacy and Consulting, elevated by the Canada Boss Lady Dispensary, and Educational Equity Advisors. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who needs no introduction, please give it up for the star of the show, Ileana Castillo!
Yay! Hey, you know what?
You like that? I named the show after you.
I know. The Ileana Castillo Show. That would be a good one.
Yeah, so
I would talk so much stuff, and not only about Soma, about the dating, about friendships and things like that. That would be a good one. So
that's it for me. I'm done. I'm done, basically. But that's basically what it might as well be the Ileana Castillo Show. And the reason that I decided to intro us with this is because so much breaking news last week. Wednesday, you had the Dean Daffis stuff where he started up with the Congresswoman, and then you had this crazy woman with the art gallery who was pissed off every Jew in America. And so I'm like, Ileana, we got to get on the air Wednesday. We got to get on the air. And you're like, no, we'll do it Monday.
Well, I said that.
How about Thursday?
Well, because it was Thanksgiving. I was like, come on, we needed like a couple of days of peace. By the way, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was excellent. Thank you. Of course, I was very nervous that we weren't doing a podcast, and I reached out to you. Normally, you reach out to me 15, 20 times.
Know,
it was me reaching out to you 15, 20 times, and you turned me down each and every time.
I was like, no, wait until Monday.
And that's when I realized that I have nothing to do with this show. It's the Ileana Castillo Show, and I am just,
let me ask you this,
I am just a hired help.
Let me ask you this. As a Jewish person, the Jewish people celebrate Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, well, of course we celebrate Thanksgiving.
So did you have
a
lot of
turkey? That's like the one holiday that the Jews kind of can celebrate. But,
so are you stuffed with...
And you know why we celebrate it? Because, the white man took the Indian down, so the Jews are very proud of that.
Of
because
course.
That's apparently what we do now, according to all these anti-Semites out there, the Jews like destroying culture and indigenous people and so forth.
So are you stuffed with turkey and cranberry?
But Ileana, I want to introduce our guest because this guest, okay, cue the music. We got music up right now. If that's not helping you figure out who it is, well, I don't know what I can do to help you. Because, ladies and gentlemen, he is big, he is bad, he's a dark one. Soma Talks, very young John Sarantakis. We got John.
Oh
Finally,
my God.
we got him aboard.
I am dead. I am dead with that introduction. So.
All right, we can turn the music down a little bit, but that was, of course, Star Wars music, right?
Star Wars.
Yes, the Darth
very
Vader music.
appropriate for the.
Very appropriate.
I'm happy to be here and set the record straight since you guys have outed me like 24 times. I mean, how many episodes have you had now?
23, 24.
Right, and she's gotten your name wrong every single time, right? It's Sarantakis, not Sarantaki,
right.
not Sarantaki, not Sarah.
So
right, yes.
Every episode I'm outed. Yes, the world. Yes, I am gay. Yes. So it's kind of funny because even my own kids, they're like, "Hey, do you know they're talking about your business on that podcast?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then a few weeks ago, I was having my nails done at Kim's, and the nice Korean lady, Pak she, Korean women, when you talk to them, you always put she.
Yeah.
So, it's either Pakshi or Gimshi. There's only like two Korean names, the Paks and the Kims. So Pakshi says, that nice guy on that podcast, he say you gay.
Wait, now who's this woman? She's
at the nail salon.
You go to Kim, so you go to Kim's Nails?
Well, I don't want to say. Are we not supposed to mention
we're not
names,
supposed to say
John. I want you to...
So I'm sitting there having my mani-pedi, and, on this occasion I decided to pick pumpkin spice as my nail polish. And, so I'm looking at her and she's looking at me and I'm like, oh, okay, what do I say now? I can't hide anymore.
No.
So anyway, I said, I think your Korean Google Translator was probably broken. You didn't understand.
I really didn't know they would hear our podcast.
Yeah, of course. Everybody
They
listens to the
listen,
podcast.
yes,
So
they
what
all
I would have said
listen.
is, I would have said, I'm not gay and I'm going to Leo's. That's what I would have said, and that would have been it for me, right?
Well, the other day I went to Coda. One of the waitress came up to me. Oh, there he goes.
Right, yeah, there we go.
Well, the other day I was at Coda, and one of the waitress came up to me, and she was like, we had a customer came in that they wanted to congratulate Coda supporting Soma Talks because that customer really enjoyed the podcast. I was like, did you get that name? She was like, no, he was just rambling, but he really enjoys the podcast and wanted to congratulate Coda for supporting us. And I was like,
all right, yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, hey, we're growing the brand here, of course. Now that we have a new name, the Ileana's Castillo Show, we're gonna have to start over from scratch. But I have a feeling this will be more popular.
Anyway,
the
just
second
kidding. You can out me all you want. I don't care.
Now, you know what? Hey, John. One of the things I like about you is that you are not shy about voicing your opinion about anything.
no, do not sugarcoat it.
And as opposed to so many people in Soma, where they're kind of like, well, I'm going to follow the party line. That this is you don't. And that's one of the things that I find very interesting, just about the things that you write and some of the things.
Not only that, every person that has come as our guest, when I ask him who's your favorite
you always
poster,
get- yeah.
you're always the
That's
first
funny.
name, and I
That's
call it the
funny.
classic. Like if
Yeah.
you mention it's a classic now.
But it's just and I think because you get very serious at times, but there's a certain sense of humor. There's an underlying sense of humor in the
There is.
nicknames that you've called people, especially like the social justice group that gives everybody a hard time.
The anti-social justice.
Anti-social-
Yes.
the way, I mean, they have to just be like, we can't respond. Why not? Because he'll destroy us. He'll make us cry.
Oh
He'll
my
embarrass
God.
us.
No, you're very
I mean,
funny.
look, people used to have these conversations. We used to be able to talk to each other, but then the whole cancel culture thing came out, and now people have basically shut down. They're afraid.
Do you know when that started? When you moved here, when do you think that
in
started?
Soma, it started. It was probably you had MOL 1st. That was like prehistoric cancel culture.
I feel so old.
Everyone was like, it was like leading up to it. I think we were at the forefront of cancel culture. So MOL was funny because, you had.
You had two moderators that could kind of just knock you off of there permanently.
And you had the anonymous posting. People
had a
didn't
lot
use the real,
anonymous.
even though everyone knew who was everyone else. But it was like, okay, you had every Karen who'd come into the group and they would say something like, why is my neighbor's dog barking? And people would literally kill them.
Oh, yeah.
It was just brutal. Anyway, I wasn't part of the MOL thing.
You weren't?
I signed up for it once, and then I think I got into a snit with someone. I think his name was Hero something.
No Hero.
Ah, okay, that one.
Oh,
Do you know
Yes.
who
no
he is? Do you
Hero.
know he's on Soma Talks regularly?
really?
Yeah,
I'm
he
not gonna
is.
say his name
So,
on there. That wouldn't be right. But
I-
he is. When we take a break, I'll point him out to you.
Yeah. So I got into a snit with him, and the little bitch complained to whoever the
that's what
the
he
two
did.
brothers.
That's what
I
he
always
did.
said it
blah,
was
blah,
no
blah.
arrow, but it's no
Hero.
hero.
And then it was like I was like, screw this shit,
I'm out.
just like,
I think No
nah.
Hero had nude pictures of Jamie and Dave or something because I couldn't. Anything, argument, disagreement, how with this guy. If this guy snapped his fingers, you were gone. And it was like unbelievable. It was like, but anyway,
I do think it began with Obama, the whole cancel thing. He came in. I voted for Obama, but I think
I
there
did
were.
too.
It triggered a movement that sort of morphed into something that people didn't see coming. So we had this movement that began, and then we began to see like this huge migration of Karens from Brooklyn who came here like trying to gentrify everything and create this Marxist little paradise.
Yeah.
And that's when things really escalated. And then Trump was elected in 2016, and he just broke everybody.
Oh, you forgot a very important detail.
Which one?
The lounge.
Oh,
maybe?
no. Summer
Well-
Justice made it 10 times worse after they came into the picture.
But that was later. That was kind of later when you kind of look at the evolution of what happened here.
Of course.
Of course, there was Soma Lounge, and Soma Lounge was another prehistoric cancel culture thing. And I have to give those ladies some credit. They didn't really know what they were dealing with because now people were using their real identities, and some of them were business owners. And every time someone said something, they would ping them, and they literally blocked half the town. That was the outcome of.
Well, that's why
Lounge.
Summer Talk came up, because of all the people being booted out.
But what they did is they blocked older posters who had been here for a long time, I think, in the Soma Lounge's case. So what happens is all the original people that had been around for years, they're knocked out of there, and then these new people are signing up, and they're sticking around, kind of understanding the rules a little bit better. So I think what you've had is kind of like the flavor of Maplewood, South Orange, kind of like knocked out of there. This newfound group of people are kind of not realizing we had a culture here before Brooklyn got here. We had we had diversity before Brooklyn got here.
That makes a good point what you said, that the old flavor or Summer Lounge is out and they have emerged to other groups, and now they have the new flavor. I agree.
Their new rules.
I have a lot of originals from Summer Talk. There's a lot of originals.
That's why you hear some people say, "Oh, that Summer Talks is a racist site," and it's not. And the reason that they say that is because they're in the lounge, and then they're in the Maplewood moms, and they hear things, and so it's like the just follow the leader. It's a follow the leader mentality, which again I was talking about you earlier, John. I like the fact you've never been the guy to follow the leader.
No, definitely not.
And that's what I love about your type of.
It's overdone and it's
messaging.
Exhausting. The whole cancel culture thing. I hope we are finally over it. Because it just seemed all you had to do was tweet something about someone. Okay, someone looked at you the wrong way, or your neighbor did something to piss you off, and all of a sudden you call them a racist, and this person is canceled. Or you tweet something and they're canceled, and next thing you know, you see the for sale sign going up 6 months later because they literally have to leave town. That's how bad it is. So.
But people don't. They just, it's the social media. I always say, you know what? If Maplewood and South Orange are awesome, all you got to do is get off social media and go to a restaurant or go to a shop or walk Maplewood Avenue. It's
but you
quite
can't
nice.
avoid social media.
But
That's
you can't.
the thing,
because even to find out if the schools are closed, you got to go on social media and find out.
It's here. We have to learn how to live with it.
But look how we found out about what happened with Deborah Engel and Dean Defis. It was through social media. And that's how we found out about that.
By the way, that's right. What are your thoughts? So now, one of the things I wanted to get on Wednesday, I'm like, oh, yeah, we got to get on the air. And Yolana's like, we'll do it Monday.
Monday.
And then she hung up on me. So I said, I must have been disconnected, and she actually hangs up. Like we used to hang up in the old days, like you'd hear like a slam on the phone. Eliana still manages to do that, even with her cell phone. It's like, it's like, did she just take the phone and smash it against something? But so anyway, so basically, for those unfamiliar, what basically happened was this. It looked like Deb Engel was going to be the mayor of Maplewood. And Deb would have, lovely
Mrs.
woman.
Mashugana.
Right, yes. Deb,
the Jewish Mrs. Mrs. Kringle, right?
Right. I don't know Deb that well, but I've met her a couple times, and she's always got a smile on her face, and she's very polite, and I like her. But so at the last minute, I guess she had Dean's support, and she had her buddy Malia's support. Who the first thing Malia does,
Should we read her statement?
Yeah,
because it was pretty.
I'll explain. That would read the statement. So basically, what happened was, I think they all walked into a room, and Deb was going to be mayor. Dean at the last second says, "You have to support Mikey Sherrill for governor, or you don't have my vote." And she was like, "Well, I haven't decided who to vote for." Dean, I think, was the guy that said, "Well, then deal's off, and I'm not supporting you." They have an argument, they have a disagreement, and next thing you know, Nancy is reelected mayor, which, Nancy is obviously thrilled because she wanted to be mayor also. So that's my take on what happened. And you want to read the statement, Ileana?
Yeah, I'm looking for it because it was very interesting to see.
So should I keep talking while you're looking for it? So that's basically what I think, and Deb apparently said something about the men in the room, but I don't think she was talking about Vic. Vic was in Nancy's corner. I think basically Dean really, and then of course, you know, the whole thing blows up, and Mikey Sherrill, who's running for governor now, has to kind of like tell the state of New Jersey, I'm not a part of any type of machine, because if Dean made it seem like there's some type of machine. If you don't support her for governor, you can be mayor of Maplewood, and that's bad precedent, right, John? I think.
Yeah, it's that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Well, here's
poor
the
Dean.
brief.
I mean, you know, beware of Greeks promising you
Yeah. Here's the.
mayorships. I guess that's the moral of the story there, because I think we've had deja vu with this, right? Didn't something like this
With
happen?
Greg Lembrick, the same thing apparently happened. Lembrick was going to be
that
mayor,
one,
had Dean
yeah.
support, and at the last minute, Dean apparently walks into these meetings with
you
something
know.
like, if you want this, you got to give me that.
Right.
And I think, Dean,
Quid
you
pro
can't,
quo.
right, you can't be
give me
doing
this,
that, my
I
man.
give
And
you that.
I don't think it was vindictive. I think it was just naivete on Dean's part. I do think if he was planning to maybe have a job with the administration, Cheryl, if she even wins, it may be a little more difficult for him now. I hope not. You know, I don't want to see this affect anybody's career or livelihood or whatnot. But I do feel that this was a bad.
Look, the
bad week for
bottom
Dean.
line is it's become very incestuous. The TC, also South Orange Board of Trustees. We need some diversity in these towns. Political diversity. There need to be people who come forward who are not this extreme left mindset. You know, even people who are just vanilla liberals like we all are, you know?
All right, guys, before you guys
Yeah,
keep talking,
right.
let me read briefly her statement.
This
So
is-
you guys,
this
this
is-
is what Deborah Engel said on her statement after
Okay.
all that you guys been talking about. She said, for months and months and months, I have been asked and then enthusiastically urged to become the next mayor by one of my colleagues. Then in an instant, I was told I would completely lose the support unless I endorsed a certain gubernatorial
yeah,
candidate.
right.
It wouldn't be good for Maplewood if the mayor or deputy mayor doesn't endorse this candidate. I was told by more than one elected official sitting here today. Well, I don't think it's in Maplewood's best interest to let county and state politics dictate municipal issues. And this sentiment has been mentioned in the past caucus as well. Now, that was Deborah's statement. Now, the person that she was supposed to support was Mikey Sherrill. Mikey Sherrill made a tweet, and she said, I was disappointed to read the news. Deb is a wonderful public servant for the people of Maplewood, and like her, I believe deeply in the democratic process. As Deb said, this did not come from our campaign and has no place here. I am going to keep working every day to earn support from New Jersey.
Yeah, this is crazy. Basically, the candidate has to go ahead and of all the things she's going to do, and now she's got to dog with the TC, where it seemed like Dean pulled a little power play for favor.
Was it only Dean? Because she mentioned men. She said more
men,
than
but-
one
but- so
council. And we know it's not Malia, because Malia is very good friends with
right,
her.
no,
So it's between Vic, Dean, and Nancy.
Well, Dean had. Vic had Nancy's back. It was 3-2. My understanding.
But she said that was more than one person.
You know.
So between Vic and Nancy, one of them
Maybe she
gave
thinks-
her the
yeah.
pressure.
Maybe she thinks Nancy's a man. Is that a possibility?
No,
I'm joking around. Nancy's not a man.
but it has a feeling. Everybody, the word on the street says it was Vic and Dean, because she mentioned men. She said it was more than one. She never said, and she mentioned in her statement that it's sad that men have to put the girls in rivalry, like pick each other up.
I think Nancy's a great mayor. I know a lot of people don't like her. I like her, and I think Deb would have been a great mayor. And what I don't like is afterwards, all of a sudden there seem to be other rumors, kind of that Deb wasn't going to run for office again. I mean, and I don't know where those things were kind of branching out of, but it just seemed like
it doesn't seem like she will go again after this. Could I blame her?
If I were her, she's close. She should have been mayor. Dean did the wrong thing. I'm going to say it was you, Dean.
What do you think, Sarantakis?
I have to discount the gender aspect of this, trying to make it sound like it was men versus
women.
I don't know. That sounds kind of, in this town, I don't know. That just sounds like a bit far-fetched. I do think this all goes back to the same issue, that we've become sort of a clique in this town, and everyone aligns behind a certain mindset, and people are not allowed to think for themselves or think of options. It's almost become a cult, in this town. It's very strange, and I don't know why it has evolved like this. It's very strange. You look at the presidential election, 92% voted for Harris. In Soma, this is bizarre. This is strange. It's not normal. It means we are a cult. And people, I don't know if people are afraid to even think of voting differently, or they've been so brainwashed into thinking you must vote this way that it's become so ingrained into their psyche they can't even consider another option.
I agree with you.
It's not normal. People need to really think for themselves. Don't let others do the thinking for you. And that's my message. Think for yourself.
Yeah, statistically speaking, you're right. I didn't even think of it in those terms. 92% of the people vote one way for Harris, who gets slaughtered across the country. I mean, doesn't win a swing state. So more progressive apparently than San Francisco, Berkeley. I mean, we had.
And don't you dare say that you're independent or you're a Republican.
No, I mean, it's a tough thing. Years ago, funny. I worked at Fox News years ago when Obama was actually running against McCain. And my son, I guess, they had like, who are you voting for in like third grade, I think it was. And all the kids were voting for Obama. My son said he's voting for McCain because my dad works at Fox News, and he was young and we got a note from the teacher, not teaching him a problem, but she was saying other parents had a problem with it. And they were actually reaching out to her. And she just was like, FYI, Casey, here. And this was going back. I mean,
it's like he said when Obama started. That's where felt like
so
things.
It was like a little spooky. Here I was thinking it was funny, but I think my son didn't get invited to parties. I think people, By the way, now my son, he's left of Bernie Sanders. So just for all you people,
I'm really stuck on this 92%. I don't think it's normal, and I would even say, and this is a crazy thing to say, but they really need to look at the integrity of the election process, because there might be some funny business happening.
That's interesting. So maybe what is going on now?
I don't know, but 92%, it's like, no way in hell.
You might think 70-30, 80-20, but you're right.
I know too many people who,
me too. I saw a lot of people, and when I felt like there was only like 500 votes only for Trump, that doesn't sound like there's only like 3,000 Republicans here. You're telling me those 3,000? How much Republicans voted?
It doesn't make sense.
I think 2,000.
No, it's more than that. It was like 3,000 something registered voters here in Maple, South Orange.
Something is not right, or we've officially become like a Jonestown type cult here.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like do this, and people just follow along. They don't question.
Of course, they're gonna have people say, "Yeah, Trump is a racist. He's a misogynist. He rapes women." I mean, they go crazy here.
They do.
He hates the Mexicans. He hates and it's like,
sure.
And they go bananas. It's like if you even say, "Well, I like his policies. I think maybe I lower taxes. And then they're like, "Well, that's because you're a racist." It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
John,
it's really
everyone's a racist.
I know.
The minute you diverge from the group think, it's like you're a racist. You're this. You're that. It's just. It's nuts. It's really crazy. I don't know what to say. It's being the whole wokeness thing and the whole cancel culture, and it's turned into a power trip for some people. They don't like what you're saying, and they're not able to discount what you're saying, and then they throw out these epithets like you're racist, you're a Trumper, you're a fascist, you're this, you're that. And by the way, I've been called all those things and much worse. And it's like, who are these people who sit in judgment of everyone? What gives them this power? What gives them this authority? Would they say this to me in person if we met in person? I mean, I don't think so.
Right, no. But let me ask you, as a gay man, are you worried? Because I know I talk to a lot of my friends that are gay, and they're very worried. They're very worried about gay rights, and they're worried about their future in this country. And do you worry about that with Trump? Is this something that crosses your mind?
I'm not so much Trump as I am about the Supreme Court, because ultimately it's the Supreme Court that will decide those issues. It's not Trump. And now the Supreme Court is 6-3, and now it'll probably swing 7-2.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
if it's true what they're saying, Sotomayor is going to retire because she has bad health, etc.
Right.
So 7-2, who knows what they're gonna do? I don't know. I mean, I came out, at a very, very young age, lived through the AIDS crisis. Sort of lived through everything. I mean, you just never think back then, 30 years ago, that we'd be where we are now with civil rights and gay rights. But here we are. I mean, do I think it could go backwards? Of course it can go backwards. It's happening globally. You see in some countries, they're rescinding civil rights in Russia, in Georgia, in all sorts of countries in Eastern Europe. You look like even in a country like Italy, Meloni, the prime minister, she's a major homophobe. She banned surrogacy for gay men. Which was something like, whoa, that's pretty heavy stuff,
Right.
For Italy, because Italy is not, the Middle East.
Yeah, you would think.
It's a
Right.
progressive democracy.
It's not Saudi
But
Arabia.
yet,
Yeah.
here we are, so things can flip. They can go backwards. We have to be careful.
You're right. You're going into this with your eyes wide open, but you're still saying, hey, in America, deep breath, everybody. This is not the.
I don't think so, because if you look at the polls, most people are in favor of these rights, gay marriage, and gays adopting and having kids. Of course, your employment rights. No one will ever touch those. I can't imagine we're going to go back to a place where people could fire you if you're gay. I mean, I lived during those times. I did lose jobs because, people found out you were gay, or they even suspected you were gay, and they could fire you.
Yeah.
Employment, I know when we first moved to New York in the 90s, we were looking to buy a condo in the city, and when we filled out the application, it was a 1-bedroom, and there were two men on the application. They rejected us.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've lived.
And
you've lived the
that
worst
was
that-
perfectly legal
Yeah,
back
right.
then.
Yeah.
Can we go back to those days? Who
guess.
knows? Everything's possible.
Now, Liliana, how do you think Maplewood, South Orange is going to react if Trump decides that he's going to throw all the Dominican people out of the country? I think they would applaud. What about you? What do you think?
I don't know. Have I felt comfortable in Maplewood? There's points that, yes, I do feel comfortable, but there are other times I don't feel very comfortable because I'm very vocal, like John.
Yeah.
And I've had the nasty treatment. I've had my fair share here.
Do you
And
feel
so
that's because?
what-
Do you feel it's because of your nationality a little bit, or is it you know what I mean? Do you ever find that people around here are like, oh, well, you know what? She's a Latina woman and she won't take our advice and she won't listen to us, so fuck her. And you know what? We'll just and on top of it, we think she might even be a Republican. Blah, 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 and they go crazy.
I
on
do
you.
know that when I talk to people in Spanish, certain people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, when you talk.
So yeah, when they hear like two people and
Talking Spanish.
and then I try to switch it in English, but they shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if you talk whatever you want. That's your business.
Yeah.
I'm not eavesdropping your conversation.
Yeah, I don't understand why, because people have said to me before, Liliana, she's a Soma talk. I mean, I'm never understand. She's you're a very progressive woman. You're a
I already
hardworking, you're a
accepted-
single mom. I've talked about all this before. I don't understand why these white Karens have animosity towards a Latina woman, and they think they're in the right. It's like Karen, you're the problem. You're the one that we're making fun of. You're standing in line thinking that you're making fun of them, and they're making fun of you.
I think it happens. A lot of people. I don't know if a lot of Latinos are going to agree with me, but the Latino community is very conservative.
Yeah.
They're very conservative.
I mean, family tradition, things of that nature.
I am conservative, but I am very open-minded because, like I have two moms, and a lot of my friends are gay. So I always say I'm very eclectic.
Yeah.
But we're very conservative, and maybe that comes out a little bit of me, but I don't,
Yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't recommend Latinos coming to Maplewood. No.
You
Hell
would,
no.
right? That's very interesting. So
No.
you would say,
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell him, steer away.
yeah.
People are very multidimensional. That's what we forget. We try to label people and put them in
Right.
a neat little box, but
Yep.
it's not that simple. There are inconsistencies. So you look at someone who's gay or a Latino, and you think, oh, Democrat, or
Yeah.
they this, they this, they this. It's like, no, no, no. These are footnotes. These are just parts of a person's identity. So we have to get out of this trying to put everyone in a neat little box and think, okay, who this person is, and I understand them 100%. That's not true. People are more complex than that. I've met people who, who are immigrants or blacks, and they're extremely conservative or religious or this or that, and it sort of breaks the mold of how we think about these people and who they should be according to our understanding. But that's not. You have no right to define someone. Everyone can define themselves. I mean, I was joking with you guys earlier about being out at 24 times, but there is some truth to that. It's like, for me, my sexual orientation is just it's like I don't wake up every morning and say, oh, I'm gay,
Right,
No.
Yeah.
I wake up and I go hit the coffee machine,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Before I start thinking, the only times you think about your differences and your minority status is in the context of other people, how other people see you. And this is where the danger is, because other people like to define those different from them, So for me, I hear people say, "Oh, he's Jewish," or "Oh, she's she's black," or "He's a Republican," It's
Yeah.
like, and I always wonder, it's like, why do people use these descriptions for people? Because it's almost like they're trying to alert you, hey, this person is different from the majority, and you need to have this information.
It does feel that way.
But why
It
do I
does.
need this information? I don't care.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I agree.
We should live in a world where these labels don't matter, and this is what we're trying to instill in our children. Don't look at labels. Don't ask. Don't. It doesn't
And that's
matter.
what I always thought.
Come
years
on,
ago.
this town is very judgy.
Yeah,
Let's
but I
say
used
it.
to
It's
think,
very
I
judgy.
used to think the left meant that, you were a little more open to different cultures and different societies, and the right was kind of more or less like, no, we stay amongst ourselves and, and equal but separate, but, and then the left. And now I don't know, man, anymore. Sometimes with the real progressives, I get the, it's like there's a different us versus them mentality. It might not be like white versus black so much, which was definitely something I think was in the right Republican Party, but now it's more or less like, us versus them. They don't think like us. They don't like the same things we like, and it's not a matter of disliking them. It's a matter of hating them, destroying them, ruining them, getting them to. There's so much justice person there that I've heard her argue with people. Somebody said, "Gee, you the way you're talking to me, it's like you sound like you want me to move." She goes, "That's exactly what we want. We want you to move." And I read that once on the Village Green.
Well,
I was
I'll
like,
tell you
"Holy
this,
shit."
and this is going to blow your mind. I have friends here in Maplewood that are Democrats and are Republicans. Can you believe that the Republican people in Maplewood have treated me way much better than the Democrat?
It's interesting. I mean,
I believe it.
yeah, I mean,
That blew my mind, because you would think that the Democrat are more open-minded, more welcoming. The Republicans are
Yeah,
more
you would think the
snooty,
liberal were
and the
yeah.
Republicans are more snooty, more
especially
thing.
you being a minority woman, I would think without a shadow of a doubt that the people that
No, the Republican people in Maplewood have been more welcoming to me. They don't judge me. The Democrat people have been very, these progressive people have been very judgy. Not all. Let me say that, because I still have some good Democrats friends, but a lot of them have been very judgmental to me. And they don't, you know what? They don't hide it.
Yeah.
They don't hide it.
Yeah, no. I've seen it. I mean, I've heard it. I hate to say it.
I've
I mean, I
lived it.
love
I've
you, and then
seen
people
it.
said stuff to me, and I'm like,
It
I'm
has
looking at them, like, they're
affected my
nuts.
kids. It has affected my kids. My kids are always like, oh, they said this and this about you. I was like, how did my kids even heard about? Like, seriously.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about why I believe Jews still rock the world, Ileana. So what do you think of that? So,
of course.
all right. So we'll be back in just a moment on the Soma Talks podcast, the Ileana Castillo Show. John Sarantakis, thank you for coming in. We'll be right back.
They're offering you change. Yeah, but it's the same change as before. But nobody else is more competent than me to take us through these hard times.
Enough with the competent people doing nothing. We want incompetent people doing something.
Are you feeling overwhelmed trying to navigate the school system to meet your child's needs? Educational Equity Advisors is here to help. Led by Elisa Malaspina, a board-certified special education advocate with over 25 years of experience, Educational Equity Advisors specializes in guiding parents through the complexities of school districts, including securing 504 plans, IEPs, and out-of-district placements when necessary. Educational Equity Advisors believes that income should never be a barrier to getting your child the education they deserve. That's why Educational Equity Advisors offers free consultations and sliding scale payment options to make their services accessible to all families. Discover how Educational Equity Advisors can empower you to be your child's strongest advocate. Visit Educational Equity Advisors today and take the first step towards educational equity for your family. For more information, please check out educationalequityadvisors.com. Again, that's educationalequityadvisors.com. And we're back. The Ileana Castillo Show.
Yeah.
Starring Ileana Castillo and Lee Navin with special guest John Sarantakis. So we were going to move on and talk a little bit about this this art gallery in Millburn. That's it's some pretty nasty stuff going on with it. But Ileana says we can't talk about that yet. She, of course, being
I have a couple questions.
Yeah,
One
she wants
more
to talk a little bit more about what's going on with Deb Engel and so forth. Right?
I was going to ask John Sarantakis, like we just discussed before, because a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about this. Do you think that Nancy should not take the position of mayor and like support Deborah Engel? Or what are your thoughts about that? Because a lot of people have different opinions about this. I mean, we know that it's very political, this whole township committee.
So what you're saying is perhaps Nancy could have said, no, Deb, thank you for having my back, but I'm going to have your back. And with Vic, the three of us will now.
Well, it seems like that's what people should say, because if everybody knew that Deborah was going to be the mayor, and because she chose to not endorse this person because she wants to see where it goes,
she
maybe
wasn't ready.
perhaps she wasn't ready to endorse this person, and that's her right. But Nancy...
It would be a very smart political move, and it would save them a lot of embarrassment, I think, if she stepped aside and said, okay, we're giving Debbie the mayorship, and it's like, who cares? What's the big deal? I mean, we keep hearing these are volunteers, they give blood and blah, blah, blah.
But they volunteer for that.
I know. I mean, believe me, I don't buy into that. These positions, they come with a lot of stature, a lot of power. Okay, let's face it, it's the same thing with the BOE. I keep hearing, they're the selfless volunteers. No. They're not selfless volunteers. These people control a budget of $250 million every year. They employ thousands of people. They're responsible for the educational outcome of almost 8,000 students. These are not the ladies at the cupcake table at the PTA meetings. They have a lot of power. $200 million. In 5 years, that's $1 billion, okay? Think about that. We're not talking pocket change.
No.
This is not, so please, spare me the argument, these are volunteers, they're selfless, they're giving that. No, it's not.
So you think that it would have looked better if Nancy would have supported Engel and say, like, look, you were promised this, you should?
Absolutely. Look, Nancy's not popular. People are like, it's like, and after the whole...
I feel like people say, like, you did your time.
And the Jermaine thing...
Dude, when I was running against Greg Lembridge and Nancy Adams. She already had, 6 years behind me? And that was like almost 10, that was like 6-7 years ago, and she's still there.
Right. So, if these people are so selfless and blah, 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 and, they're like giving blood, you know what? Step aside. Let someone else, enjoy your life. Whatever.
Who would you like to be mayor out of all five?
To be mayor?
Yeah, out of mayor. Out of all five, who was?
Honestly, I think Deborah Engel would probably be the least. I don't want to. Never mind. Scratch that.
The one I find the least offensive is actually trying to say.
Probably do the least amount of damage, because look, these people are disconnected from reality. They don't understand the issues. We keep going back to the same argument. They're in their minds, the issues are, leaf blowers and turf fields and, trying to
make more building.
slap the police's hand any way they possibly can and make their lives miserable. Those are not the issues. The issues are taxes. Taxes are going up 5% every year in Maplewood. People cannot afford to live here. My kids can afford to live here. They keep saying, "Oh, we want to grow. When we finish school and we get jobs, we want to stay here and live here. We love Maplewood." I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? You're probably not going to be able to afford to live here. You're probably going to end up in Texas or South Carolina, or some other place. There's no way in hell. So these people, rather than focusing on the issues like affordability, cutting taxes, fiscal responsibility, making sure every dollar that is spent wisely. They're focusing on these bullshit issues that are like,
I agree.
what
I agree.
the F are these? Who do these people listen to? Or they don't care. They don't
Were
care.
you happy with the Board of Ed outcome?
Yes, very much. Yeah.
You think that we need it? Do you really think that there's going to be progress?
That was very good. It's progress. Now I'm hoping that the people behind those three, they don't lose the momentum and they continue to recruit people next year, because you know what happened? This is what happened not last year, but the prior year. People got complacent, and guess what? The other slate, they put in 3 people and they won because nobody came forward. So you know what? This momentum has to continue until, I'm not going to say these people are removed. It's just we have to change the agenda on that board. They're just
I agree.
way
It's
off
the agenda.
track. They're way off track, and people are leaving the district. They're moving.
Or putting them in private school.
They're putting their kids in private school. I mean, I know I met a family the other day. They're renting their Maplewood house, and they rented an apartment, a tiny apartment in Livingston, just to put their kids in the Livingston schools. It's like,
oh, wow.
And they didn't want to sell the house because they think they're going to come back someday, but because of the school situation, they're in this tiny 2-bedroom apartment in Livingston just to put their kids in the school.
Dude, you see that? From a house to a tiny apartment?
Well, this is what people are doing, and it's like, pay attention, pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, I've known Nancy for years. Everyone gives me, why are you always supporting Nancy? Nancy's a good friend of mine, and I'm very proud of her.
Yes, we know, Lee.
But here's what I'm going to say about Nancy. And the reason, one of the things I've known Nancy for years is, hey, Nancy, we're going out Tuesday for have a drink. You want to go? I can't. I got a committee meeting. Hey, Nancy, Wednesday night we're bowling. You want to come out? I can't. You know what? I'm going to a green team meeting. On Thursday, I can't. I've got a TC meeting. Friday, I can't. She does the work, and that's the one thing. When I ran years ago, Vic had said to me, I was trying to get the nomination of the Maple Democratic Committee which I had no chance, and I said, Vic, I go, how come you didn't vote for me, support me? Out of curiosity, he says, because I don't think you do the work, Lee. I don't think you go to the committee meetings. I don't think you would do it, and that to him was the most important thing. He didn't care that I had a big mouth or that I was this or I was that. What he just wanted, he wanted somebody who, I need people that come to the meetings, do the work. Dirty work, and that's what the Vics and the Nancys and I can't speak for the rest. I don't know how busy Deb is in meetings and committee meetings and all the actually finance meetings, budget meetings, so. But that's there is a lot of work that goes into
It's a
this
monopoly. They should have term limits. They should do 2 terms or 3 terms and move on. And the other part, the living here all these years. The other thing a lot of people don't notice is a lot of these people are also on the planning board.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
People forget the power in these towns. One of the biggest power things is the planning board, because they're the ones that make the decisions on all these apartment buildings popping up everywhere. You need a variance for this.
Sure.
It's like, you know what? They don't get a lot of attention, but this planning board, it's very powerful. And that's another one, it's like that's another one that needs to be looked at. Like, okay, term limits. You serve your 2 terms, move on. You don't need to be on there for 20 years.
But conversely, if you had term limits, might you be losing good people that want to do this, and maybe you'd have no one to replace them? Or even
No, I
worse,
don't
you have
believe that.
people that
No.
just stink at it and aren't
No.
prepared for it.
I think
there's something to be said about experience.
No, I think we need fresh people. We need fresh. It's like the
I think
workplace.
so,
Nobody
too.
wants you to stay in your job longer than X amount of years. They want
Yeah.
you to rotate. Okay, so it's the same thing. There's no. People. I think once they're in a position too long, they become inefficient, and all sorts of other crazy stuff happens. You really need a reboot every now and then.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think once upon a time I was 100% on board with what you're saying right now. But if Vic, for instance, Vic, why don't you retire already? Enough's enough, Vic. But now I don't know. Here's an example again, or maybe we're a stable, little stability.
He's like the
brought
Nancy
to this-
Pelosi of the Maplewood Township.
Oh my
It's
God.
like Nancy, go away, please.
But Nancy's tough, and she got a baseball bat, and you don't fuck with her. You don't fuck with Vic. Like the Leroy Brown song. Well, I'm gonna sing that to you the next time.
Oh,
Leroy, down Leroy Brown.
But has
guy.
Lee been on the? I mean, has Vic been on the podcast?
No, he might. He
No,
might. Yeah, he might come on.
no, he
yeah,
did. When I
you-
saw him not too long ago, he
You
came up to me
You
and said,
guys are radioactive. I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, actually, just got a text
know.
from Vic. He's like,
I
is
know.
Sarantakis on your podcast? I will never come on. All right, so that's
Yeah.
There you go. I challenge you, Vic. If you're listening to this, you need to come to the podcast
Vic
because
is always welcome.
there are like there's also like maybe 100 Republicans in this town who'd like to.
No, everybody is everybody on who's elected to either office, South Orange Mate, but you're welcome to come on anytime, except for Dean, because we've already had a gay Greek man
That's
on
right.
the podcast.
That's right.
We can't have two gay Greek
And
men
I'm more
back to back. It
fabulous
just doesn't work.
than Dean, so just don't
on
forget that.
social media, you definitely
Right,
are.
right.
Definitely
I mean,
are.
So that must be-
Ileana, you've met both of us. Who has better skin? I mean, seriously.
I think you're a much better looking man than Dean.
No.
That's just me. You're my type.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
so,
John
yeah.
Sarantakis fan.
I mean,
yeah.
I got the pumpkin spice nails. He's
There you go.
he's got the pink sports coat. That sort
Yeah,
of.
that's true.
Have you guys met? Dean, have you met?
Yes, I know Dean. I know Dean very well. Yeah. He's-
I mean, are your families from the same neck of the woods in Greece?
So,
have you gotten that far in
no, not
conversations?
really. His family's from where are they from? Central Greece. We're from the Peloponnese. I was born in Greece.
Yes.
But Dean's very interesting. He has a very interesting life story.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's shared some of that publicly. About some of the things he went through. It's very interesting. It's very sobering. I did not have that experience, fortunately. My parents knew I was gay at 12. In fact, they outed me,
Okay, yeah.
because I will tell you
Little
why.
John Sarantakis. I'm gay and I'm going to school and get out of my way, Mom. Yeah.
So we were sitting around. They were sitting around the kitchen table, like this is back in the 70s, you know. And I was in the other room and I was listening, and they were talking about the kids and blah 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 and this and that, and then they're talking to me and they're saying, my father says to my mother, he's never gonna marry, and then I could hear my mother she became very quiet and upset, and I was listening to this. And I was thinking to myself, what is he talking about? Because back then, I didn't even know I was gay. I had some awareness, whatever.
Yeah,
But then
there
later
were-
on, it was like,
But he had the presence of mind.
okay,
He understood and.
But he was a very evolved person.
Yeah.
He was very forward thinking. He knew what was going. This is back in the 70s when it was like,
But he understood.
you know,
He
Yeah.
understood you, and he
understood.
supported you.
He saw the
and
signs. He was starting to see the signs.
My parents, I never had any issues with them. It was kind of, most of the time, it was don't ask, don't tell type situation.
Yeah. It was a different
But
time.
Oh
never-
God! I thought when you said that he outed you, it was like there was a family party and your father just blurted out like, "Oh, there's my gay son." You're like, "What?"
But Dean's cool.
No, Ilya-
Dean is he's fluent in Greek. He lived in Greece for a number of years. I think he told me he went to high school there. So whenever we meet, we speak in Greek.
Right. Yeah, there
and,
you have a commonality.
we have a commonality.
Yeah,
common
if anything, just
history.
your heritage, your
He's
Greek
nice.
heritage.
He's
Never
nice.
mind
Dean's very
everything else.
nice, and his partner's he's very nice too, George.
Now, Ileana, when your mothers found out that you were heterosexual, how did they react to that? Were there
Mom
issues
didn't
at
care.
home?
They never questioned me.
No, they
I never even questioned my mom's having two mom. I never asked them if they were
'cause it wasn't
lesbian, if they were
unusual,
not.
so it wasn't
I
unusual.
never asked to do this. People are like, "Are your parents lesbian?" I was like,
Yeah.
I never asked them that question, nor do I care.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Yeah, see, I just had a mom and a dad. I'm heterosexual. It was very I had a
It's funny.
very generic life until our next topic. The situation going on.
Before we go to that, I think this is going to be a two episode.
We can do 2 podcasts.
Yeah, because we had there's so much to talk with John Sarantakis. Just so you know,
Okay, we'll do 2
it's going to
parts.
be a very long time. We're going to have him again, so take advantage of John Sarantakis.
'cause I wanna
because
talk
he's
about-
always traveling, he's always working.
So we're not going to rush it. So I want to talk about what's going on in Milburn, and I also want to talk to John about his favorite posters. I want to talk about some of
there's
the
so
songs.
much.
And are you happy Paul J. Haley moved? I mean, there's so much to discuss.
I never met Paul. I'm so upset because I wanted
You
to meet
didn't?
him. No, I never met Paul.
Yeah.
We just never.
By the way,
connected,
he's going to be
but-
back on the podcast. He keeps asking, would you like me on? I moved. I think everybody would like to hear
Yeah,
from Paul.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I absolutely.
Do you like his post?
No.
Who,
no.
Paul?
Paul
yes, okay.
Haley's
That's
post.
what it's not gonna be.
Paul is a very he's very smart.
He's very
person.
smart. Yeah.
He's very objective. That's what I like about him. He doesn't care. He's kind of like me in many ways. He just doesn't. He's comfortable with himself. He doesn't care what other people think. He's not afraid to say, what he believes. He's a little bit of a rebel, which is like, yeah, okay, whatever. You can cut that out a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. He's,
but Paul's okay. He's cool.
That's a good way to describe
I
him.
haven't met him, but I've met his kids. I will say he has the nicest kids. They're just so sweet. So despite what people think about Paul and this and that, he's turned out phenomenal kids.
well, that was a wife. His wife.
You know
I think
You know whose kid
she gets all the credit for
you
that.
know whose kid is very sweet and nice?
Mine.
His son.
Yeah, my son is very
I
nice.
believe it.
He's such a
His
sweetheart.
wife,
Nice
huh?
guy.
Probably his wife too.
Yeah, it's all 100%. They're like the same person, those two.
I know. Every time I see Eli,
It's
right?
always
Yeah.
the 3 of us, always the 2 of them. There's always 2 against 1, no matter what the situation was when he was growing up. Like we wanted to go to vacation, we wanted to eat. It's always we're those same exact person. Yeah,
I will
those
say
two.
though, we talk about Soma and all the crappy shit that we don't like, but I have to say all the kids that come out of here, they're great kids.
Yeah,
no
no,
matter.
it's-
I have never met one kid that I would say, ooh,
Really haven't met my daughter?
No, your daughters are sweet. They're both
She is
sweet.
sweet.
It takes
They
after
all
mom.
are. But all the kids I've seen come out of here, because we've been here over 20 years.
They're
and,
sweet with everybody, but with me?
You meet kids who are
It's-
now
No, there's
in their
girls and
30s
mom.
or, even 40s. And it's like, you know what? These towns produce great kids.
Yeah.
So the formula does work.
Yeah.
It's just, we just got to work on that formula.
Yeah.
But I did see Ileana's with your daughter and her dad showed up a couple
Oh
days
my
ago.
God,
He
that was
walked in-
one
He
day-
walked into the restaurant. It was like Elvis walking in the way she jumped up. She's like, "Mom, I'm not hungry. I don't want to sit here. I want to go." And all of a sudden he walked in and it was like, bum, ba-da-da. She's smiling. She's hugging. She's happy. She's laughing.
Dude,
he is
That day
he is
was
some
one
dad.
of the most awkward days. I was in Coda and I was sitting with my best friend and then Jan, and then I was with a really close friend, Steve Hickson.
Yeah.
We were there. Dude.
Then I walked
Later comes in Lee and Brown.
Yeah.
And then later comes in the father of my kids.
yeah.
Imagine that combination.
It just
God.
got right. It was like
She
organically.
told me. I was
right,
like,
yeah, it was
what?
The funny thing is,
organic
the funny thing is, it felt like it was an MOL reunion because Hickson has been in MOL. I have been. Lee and Brown has been.
Yeah.
My ex
Yeah.
too. Like it was just like it was so awkward.
Yeah, it was. It was a little awkward for you. Yes.
That is John Sarantakis' phone, guys.
Do you need to take that? Cause,
Nope,
okay.
no.
All right.
No.
So that was just when was that Dean? Like I know you're talking about me.
Malacca.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this Green Door Studio in Milburn. Okay. Michael Goldberg. We call this the Michael Goldberg segment.
Yeah,
okay?
this is the Michael Goldberg
The Michael Goldberg
segment.
segment of the Ileana Castillo Someone Talks podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with it. It's obviously been on my radar for reasons obvious, namely, being a Jew. And a little bit of a problem with an art gallery that decides to have a pro-Hamas art showing, which is bad enough. Plenty of Jews in Milburn, and Maplewood reached out and said, please take this down. This is very upsetting to us. And the owner was absolutely refused. She's apparently on Maplewood Moms now, where she's been very aggressive in kind of letting people know her feelings. I mean, obviously she's probably a little offended and hurt. I understand that. But the Maplewood Moms apparently are now silencing the Jewish people. That's what I'm reading about today.
Again.
Yeah. So we've got all that going on. I don't know, Ileana, John, what
I think
what
it's
the
very
hell is
sad.
going on there?
It's very sad. I mean, I've always been a friend to Jewish people. When we were immigrants to this country and we settled in a community that was like, it was kind of like a Greek ghetto back then.
Where'd you grow up, in New York?
In Massachusetts.
Oh, Massachusetts,
Yeah.
okay.
And, it was kind of like a Greek ghetto. And we were like the new immigrants who came in. There were like 10,000 Greeks who came.
Yeah.
And before us were the Jews, but the Jews by that point, they were all assimilated and they were, moving out, and they were moving to like communities next door, Marblehead, Swampscott, if you're familiar with,
I know Marblehead very well.
Massachusetts at all.
Yep,
So
yep.
it's like, so I grew up with a lot of Jewish people. So, they've always been a big part of my life, and I understand what they've been through and the history. And even then moving to Soma, there's so many Jewish people here.
Yeah.
Our neighbors, we have some neighbors
After this, it may be less, but yeah.
who were Holocaust survivors,
Yeah.
who actually were in the Holocaust,
right, yeah.
So
The
they
real-
would tell us the story. They would tell us what happened. So I have a lot of compassion and understanding of these people. What's happening today, it just blows my mind. I do keep abreast of things, and I see things like, I look for patterns, and that's one of my things. I just like, okay, this is happening and that's coming. Never in my wildest days would I have expected to see what is happening in Soma and in this area. It's just, it's mind-boggling, and it's.
I'm amazed that this something could go, and she could actually have some support. Now she's had Milburn, especially because this great site, Milburn, Happy Milburn, it's called, which is kind of like their lounge. Which, by the way, as opposed to the lounge or talks, Milburn's is a different. You can go on and read it without having to have a membership, but. Hundreds of people let her have it. I know she's become defensive, but this is what she writes on Maplewood Moms today. The owner of the shop, she writes. A Jewish woman asked for an apology. She writes, I owe you nothing, not an apology, not an explanation, nor do I answer to you or anyone what the Hebrew National Commercial had to say. I answer to a higher authority. That was it. Then she goes into like all. So I understand we're dealing with somebody who's, feels like she's the victim here. But
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. Is she not? I know it's wrong, but is she not entitled to express her feelings?
I agree that she right.
Like where's the free speech comes in here? I'm playing the devil's guy. I'm supporting the Jewish people, just for the record, but I'm playing the devil's advocate.
You're right. So perhaps if she had better explained what it was in the gallery, but when hundreds of people in the community and then hundreds to take in front of your store. An apology.
But
I'm
do
sorry. I got it wrong. You know what?
But maybe there's other people that supports her.
Yeah, and she doubled down. Yeah, no, look, absolutely.
I see her actions as provocation.
It's provocation.
It's not because there are so many Jewish people in this area. So it's like, why is this happening? Why are these people suddenly coming out of the woodwork?
Do you think the timing is wrong with everything that the Jewish people are going through? You think
yes,
this is
absolutely,
the time is wrong?
And, we have to... You have to look at the bigger picture. What is going on here? This movement, the wokeness, the all these things that have been happening in the past 10 years. The left has gone extreme. Okay, and we've seen this on a local level with the MAPSO school, with some teachers, etc. It's not, they've radicalized the youth, okay? I think the biggest problem which I see with the Jewish community is people who are Jewish in this community don't want to, they're in a state of denial. They think, oh, this isn't happening, or, it's like, no, this is happening. It's like, wake up. This is happening. You have to stop the denial. You have to look and accept the fact that these people who are radicalized left they have turned into your worst enemy. It's it's not the tiki torch bearing, pimple faced people on the right, who are the enemy. It's these other radicalized people who are radicalizing your kids and using platforms like Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, and they are spreading all sorts of crazy shit and brainwashing people into thinking Israel is an aggressor nation, and by consequence, Jews are also oppressors. Because before, I looked at the syllabus for our kids. They went to MMS, and they were following critical race theory and the school didn't want to come out and say it, but that's what they were teaching them. They were indoctrinating them. We were looking at the material they were studying. It was all, the whites are oppressors, blah, blah, blah.
And it did work. It did influence
And
on my daughter.
It worked.
My
And
daughter's completely brainwashed.
I'm embarrassed to say, one of my kids, he won't date white girls.
Yeah.
And we had an issue with that.
Is it just his taste in women, or is he feel that it's his way of saying I'm sorry to a culture that he didn't have anything to do with?
My understanding was he was fed some perceptions about white girls and their being entitled and the language that you hear. And I was like, this really shook me, because I was like,
no, you know what? I am going to
what?
At your age, how is this?
But then we began to look closer into it and pay closer attention to the curriculum and the teachers, and it was like, ooh, this is.
He's right. It happened to my daughter too. My daughter doesn't want to date a white guy.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, they're indoctrinating these kids. You have kids who are 12, 13 years old, and they're sitting in a classroom, and you have a white kid and a black kid sitting together, and they're teaching the black kid that white kid next to you is your oppressor, or he is your biggest threat in life, or they're bringing gender into it. It's like, this kid isn't your biggest threat. You don't even know him, He's sitting next to you. It's like, how can they be teaching this to these kids? It has to stop. But getting back to what I'm saying, Lee, I think Jewish people need to, they need to cut the denial a little bit, and just face up to what is happening and say, hey, we have a problem here, maybe, and I don't want to keep mentioning Trump, because I'll be called a Trumper, of course, and a Nazi and a fascist and blah, blah, blah. We all know the names. Maybe Trump isn't the boogeyman. Maybe the boogeyman is these people on the extreme left who have hijacked everything, and now they're on this tangent of promoting race clashes and antagonism between genders.
Well, that's why they lost, because exactly what you said.
I think I agree with you, Ilana, because I think after a while people began to see through that and say,
the moderates, Democrats.
Right, it worked for a while, but it's like, you know what, people are thinking,
like, how far are we going to take this?
Why should I not talk to my neighbor? Because they say he's this, or they say he's that, or it's gotten really weird these past few years. I mean, you go into Trader Joe's and people try to avoid making eye contact with you because they've heard about you.
Who, me or you?
Yeah.
Well, me, it happens all the time, Or, I get the boys come home and they'll say something like, oh, well, this teacher, she said she reads your social media posts, and she's not too happy about it.
We do have a lot of teachers in the groups. They're in lounge, they're everywhere.
So I'm like,
Yeah,
like,
look, when you got
oh,
kids in the
shit.
school, sometimes
He's going to get a C in this course.
But we're going to take a break in just a moment because we want to keep going. But I will say this: all you parents out there that are giving Jews a hard time right now with your young kids, and the bar mitzvahs are coming up in just a couple of years, and when your kid's not invited to the bar mitzvah,
You know what?
it's a big deal. So now's the time for you to take it easy on the Jews. Think about your children at age 13 when they all show up with I was at Steven's bar mitzvah, except for your kid, because you ran your big mouth on the social media sites. Right, Ileana? Right?
Yep.
You agree with that? All right, so you know what? We're going to break this into 2 podcasts because I know so many of you want to learn a little bit more about what John Sarantakis thinks of you personally out there. So we're going to say goodnight on this one, and we will be back with the second part of the Soma Talks podcast with John Sarantakis. Have a good night. Good night.